Yeah, we did it. Awesome job, everybody. No thanks to you, Zoom, motherfuckers. And Sam's having trouble connecting the video to Facebook through Zoom. So it's just one of those diggity dog days. And it's a great way to segue into the message of the week because it is about that damn shit. So this is from a gentleman I'm very fond of, listen to him a lot. He's got his own podcast. He's got all kinds of crazy things. The impeccable Gary Vaynerchuk. Are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk?
Oh, yes, I am. Yes,
okay, cool.
I follow him.
So this is something he said in one of his recent Tea with Gary V's. This is about doing over dwelling. Right now, 98% of people are going to dwell, and the 2% that do and make and create and go on offense and realize an opportunity will succeed 10x, and that's the way the game is played. So no crying over your audio. Oh, I mean, we should know about that, right? So this show is all about music and musicians and the crazy shit that happens. And how many gigs have you gotten to and they're like, I can't hear you, or your string pops, or like, what the?
Oh man, I have a great story about that actually. It's about my
tell us.
Very first gig in Los Angeles. So I moved here from New York. I'd lived in New York for like 11 years. I moved to Los Angeles in July, and the very first gig I got was opening for a Dodgers game. Actually.
Oh, wow.
Dodger Stadium. And I played with Vitamin String Quartet. And
this is clearly pre-COVID.
Oh, yeah. This was last summer, before, we knew it was going to hit us. And I get there. They've mic'd our instruments and everything. And we start playing. And I just hear this, like, vast boom of, like, feedback filling the entire stadium. And it was my cello that was back. The microphone was just picking up the vibrations of my instrument so poorly.
And were you the only cellist?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. So they were like, fucking cellist, never again.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've wrecked audio for like an audience of like, what is that, like 10,000 people or something.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Well, depending on how many listeners we have today, you could contribute to another 10,000 possibly.
You're welcome.
I fucking love it. So how you doing otherwise?
I'm really good, man. I'm really, I'm busy. I've been keeping myself busy since all of this craziness happened. Thankfully, since I moved here, I've been building out 2 businesses. One of them is, one of them took off in just the way it was meant to, which is coaching professionally for musicians and their careers. And the other one was freelancing in Los Angeles as a cellist. Now, obviously, that has gone through a big transformation since this all started.
Yeah, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. So, do you want me to go into it now at all, or?
Whatever you want to do. There's no script. I lost it. This is like improv. This is like Charles Ives.
I mean, we'll get into it later because I kind of want to talk about like what has been keeping me afloat and like that quote that you just read of like Gary V's is just like so spot on. I mean,
yeah.
This is the thing that I want to point out though is that in a time like this in which like it's not that reality has shifted, right? Like reality's always been like weird and chaotic. It's just that like we tend to think there's some rule book we're trying to follow that we don't have access to, but the rules are somewhere out there, right? And we're always trying to figure out, well, what's the right thing to do? What's the right way to grow business? The right way to like express myself as an artist, right? And we all like automatically fall into this. And now the world is, showing us that there were never any rules and there are no rules, right? So it's just one big experiment. And that's good news because if you can remember that it's really you creating everything, you're not going to go wrong. Like you can just remember it's an experiment and it's about trying stuff out. When we get stuck and dwelling and feel helpless and pitted against the circumstances is when we really sink. That said, I think that because this has been like such a huge shift in like our normal framework of reality, all of us have to have gone through some kind of like processing time to just like really, like have this sink in. Like things are different now. Things are not going to look the way that you plan them out to be for the next year. Your source of income might change. The way that you make income might change. The pace at which you get it might change. So there's a very necessary processing part. I would even say like to a certain degree, like grieving, like for musicians, a lot of us lost our like, a lot of gigs. I mean, my my partner, he's a guitarist for Pink Martini, and he was going to go to like Estonia and like in France and Europe this summer. Like, not going to happen now, right? You know, like that sucks. Like, but there is space to give yourself time to process it and then say, okay, you know, ultimately, you know, what I create and generate in my life is my responsibility. So like, what am I going to do? You know, like what can I create? Yeah. So
it's just like writing music. And I found so many parallels, like in my industry, you know, where I make most of my money, which is food and beverage and restaurants. And it's always chaos. Like you just have to expect every day, like you come in and like there's going to be fires or leaks or just the most insane things. So some of us were like better prepared for this. It's just like the chaos is always there, or like live shows the same way. Like you just never know. Are you going to be the culprit that, you know, offers feedback to 10,000 people in the stadium? It's like, that's just normal for us. Right. So a lot of us are just like, and a lot of us are used to living on the edge in terms of income and like not knowing 6 months out what it's going to be like. I remember when I was freelancing, that was always the case. Like you're booked up and it's just like, but after that, I don't know what happens in August. And restaurants are always like, will we make it 6 more months? Can we make it 6 more months? You're just always gauging those little things. And I think you're right that there were a lot of people that were super comfortable and just thinking like, you know, Prince Charming was just going to sail you off into the sunset and then like a fly swatter swack.
No.
But that's real. That's totally real. Like this is one of the first times in human history where we're just like, oh no, like the amount of people that don't practice self-defense is remarkable to me, because there was never a point in history where you wouldn't grow up knowing how to defend yourself and your family and like learn weaponry and stuff like that. And people are just like, no, I don't need that. And you got another thing coming.
Really? Yeah, I know, right? You know, I actually, admittedly, I don't know self-defense except for
time
like,
to go, girl. As soon as they open the dojos,
right?
You're in the hotbed. You're in like Jiu-Jitsu Central in LA and San Diego, like some of the best instruction.
Oh, yeah?
Is right there. Yeah. And particularly like, you know, my wife and my daughters all trained. That is a prerequisite. Like you want to, for my kids, I'm like, oh, you want to go play out in the streets of New York? Yeah. Guess what? You're going to learn to choke somebody for real. Like not like, oh, you know, like you're going to learn how to do it. And so that's just like this agreement that we have and train them regularly. You're not going to run around the city without knowing some of that stuff. And it ups the whole game. Sorry for the background noise too. We got a little cacophony. This morning we've made 130 lunches for a homeless shelter and a hospital. And like literally we've been at the restaurant since like 9 a.m. cranking it out. And we finished about 10 minutes before I sat down to do the show. And so the guys are kind of cleaning up, and it's just like boom, 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 boom.
I love that. I love that so much. I feel like there's such a pull right now for like humanitarian work and like, what can we do? Yeah. What can we do? What can we do? And it turns out we can actually do a lot, you know?
100%.
You know, and so like I was just talking with you when we were catching up earlier this week. I signed up to work with Local 802, which is the New York City Musicians Union. They're doing like a huge citywide virtual music festival right now for hospitals in New York City, having musicians with like all walks of life. In fact, they opened it up with like Tony Bennett playing. That's what I found out. Cool.
It's great. Tony Bennett. He's still alive?
I know.
Wow.
Oh, he's still gigging, man.
Keep him safe. Keep him safe. Yeah. That's crazy.
And it's so great because it's like, you know, it's just that opportunity to like give back and like I get to perform like an hour of music dedicated to and specifically for the New York City hospital workers. And they all have like theme songs. They picked different like rock, like spirit theme songs. And I'm going to try and like learn a couple of them and play them for the hospital and stuff. But, you know, it's like, it's a great time to, again, like I find humanitarian work actually wonderful in how it can kind of grow what you're doing in your like own sphere. Because again, it's like a great way to like team up with people and sort of like embed yourself in communities you want to be a part of, because, you know, people will always rally around humanitarian work. It feels so good to do. It's so fulfilling. You get so many people on your team being like, yes, how can I help? And it's a really great, in addition, of course, to like the experience of like being of service and what you do, you also get to like lead something, right? You get to lead a project, and it's like a really great way to give back. I think it's just like, and give to yourself as well. You know, I think admittedly, like when I was like a 20-year-old kind of asshole, and I was just like, I'm not going to give my services away for a good cause. Like, you know, I was so stinky about it. And now that I've actually like contributed to like, you know, fundraisers and causes and services and like organize them myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was holding back on myself, you know, like I did not imagine like it could actually be this rewarding.
It's funny. I had this conversation a couple weeks ago. I had one of my first bosses and like early mentors. He's franchised his restaurants now. I worked for him in the early 90s. And we were talking about how you get into that vibe, because he's done that remarkably. His restaurants have given 50,000 meals away for free in the last 2 months. Like 50,000 meals. It's crazy. And that idea really for him and for me came like when my back was against the wall, and it's like, I'm going to lose everything, you know, and how do I not? And it became that sense of service and community. That was the only thing. 100%. Any of you out there listening who think like, oh, I want to open a business or I want to start this thing, it is the community. If you do not have the backing of the community, I don't care if it's like your locale or like the broader, like if you're in digital marketing, like you need the digital marketing community. If you're a musician, you need the music community. You know, you always have to have that. If you're out there like in the woods trying to clear the forest by yourself, it's going to be a long, hard road. That is so crazy and so true. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to pick back up with that and learn about how you got into this idea of service and coaching, which are super entrepreneurial, and how it's helped you during this period. And then like the forecast for the music industry, because damn. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Do you run or are ready to open your own business? Hi, I'm Jeremiah Fox. I've been operating and opening small business for the last 25 years, and I'm the host of the new show, The Entrepreneurial Web. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time for insights and stories on the nuances of running small business right here on Fridays at noon, talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
All right, everybody, welcome back once again. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. To catch everybody up, especially because we had a little audio issue at the beginning of the first segment where nobody could hear me, but I don't know what happened. We are joined today for this first portion by an old friend from the New York City music scene, Kaylee Drain. She now lives in Los Angeles. She is a cellist, but she is also a coach. Kaylee, are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
There we go. Okay, audio is funny because my friend that's coming on the next segment, he's now in Pittsburgh. He was also here in New York for a long time. He's an audio engineer. Like, where the fuck were you when we need you, bro? The irony, god damn it. So Kaylee was going to tell us how she got into the idea of coaching, service, how that helped her with her music business, and then what's going to happen for musicians, especially like freelancers and performers. I've got a lot of friends here who have like the nice, you know, part-time university teaching gigs, so they're still teaching like online classes and making some money, and that's kind of okay. Or some of them are public school educators, and so they're doing okay. But there's a lot of you that like, wait, where's the scratch coming from? You know, so give us your lowdown. How did you get into the idea of coaching from being a cellist and service, and then how that's helped your business and what's coming up for you next?
Right. So about 3 years ago, I started doing some kind of deep diving, like personal and professional development work. I was a participant in a big program that I eventually started to coach in. And one of the programs was about building out, a team of people and leading them to make a community impact. And so while I was coaching this, I created I was also creating a project through the same program as I was coaching. And I created a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood that gathered my community of women in the music industry in New York City. I called the show Phenomenal Women, and it featured 3 female-led bands. My producer, the venue owner, the graphic designer were all women in my community. It was an awesome, awesome event, and it really taught me a lot about leadership, about communication, and really like the power of like what can get created when you put your mind to it and get out of your own way. Right. But the only way out is through. And so you have to bump up against yourself in order to get through to the other side in a lot of ways, that we hold ourselves back and don't take action on things that we really want to mean a lot to us. And so that program taught me leadership. It taught me like how to create projects. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined myself to be a producer of a fundraiser on that level. And it went off so well that I decided to take that work and, place it back into my community and start coaching musicians on creating big, large-scale projects that involve teams. And so they get to experience their careers grow, their legacy grow, income opportunities can come to them at that higher level. They experience themselves as leaders, which I think is really important and very empowering for musicians. We so often think of ourselves as lone wolves, incapable, already like defeated before you've even started because the arts don't make any money. And, it looks so like pathetic or frivolous up against, like big business or conventional careers. But the opportunity is to really see like, no, like you can create an enormous impact through art, through your own art and through your own vision. So, I also found out I was a really good coach. Good. My coachees were really, positively impacted by my guidance. And I've also found the importance of being guided through a process like that. Like to grow, you cannot do it on your own. You need help. Like what you were saying about your community, you've got to have that in the form of a coach or a mentor. I mean, I've had up to like 3 coaches at the same time. Like I am so into that work and so invested because it's like, at the very least, that coach will be your mirror. In fact, that's really the most important function. The coach should be your mirror and show you like, hey, like your ego is showing up again. Your self-doubt is showing up again, and everybody hits it. Like in the growth process of like building out anything, people will hit up against their small selves that tell them like, no, stay comfortable. So, no slight against your friends in like the university gigs, but I kind of feel like sorry for them in a way, like, because it's a little more dangerous to be comfortable than to be really uncomfortable and be like, what do I do? And so like my forecast, as you asked, for musicians is this is a time to go inward and really, really look at what has been stopping you. What are your needs? What are your big dreams and goals? And start to look for the ways in which you can start walking towards those goals. this is not a time to go into survival mode and try and like get out of the industry or find the thing that will just make you money tomorrow. Like, no. I mean, if you decide that like in that searching music is not for you, fine, like go and make that choice powerfully, but don't try to duck out just because you're scared, you know?
Yeah.
There is so much opportunity right now to build out your career in a way that looks totally different. I was just talking to a colleague yesterday who was, you know, complaining because like 30% of her studio, so she's a private teacher, like just badass violinist. She's got a great like set of skills. And she's got this studio of parents that she paid, she taught by the hour. And like 30% of them just like disappeared. And she was so disempowered. And, you know, she's like calling the parents, begging to get the kids the practice and all this stuff. And I was like, have you ever considered that there are students out there who want to work with you because of what you offer? And it's just a matter of finding them. Yep. And you're never going to have to beg another parent to get your kid to practice again. Like, start imagining that what you really want to show up in your life is exactly what you should pay attention to, so that you start to attract the business and the people, the clients, the collaborators, like in your artistic world too, right towards you. I mean, they'll just like zoom in because they know who you are and they know what you want to go for. But if you're just like, I have to survive, well, those are the kind of people you're going to find are the ones who are just trying to survive too. Yeah. You know, the parents who are trying to survive teaching their kids violin. They're like, oh, I guess they have to.
Terrible. It's just a terrible mental picture. Like,
I know.
You won't survive, Billy, if you don't practice violin.
I know. They're just like, oh, so it's such a bad scenario, right? And like, you know, we think so often that like what we attract is just by chance. It's like, well, there was no one else available. It's like, no, you have to attract it, man.
And that's like a very Gary Vee thing to say. And I kind of had that epiphany at a certain point too, where it's like, stop begging, like stop trying to convince people that are saying no, like just pivot. Like there's so many yeses out there. All the energy you were going to put into trying to convince somebody that's already a no, like it's probably not going to happen. A fraction of that energy I have found, if you just turn and put it towards yeses, it's like that life gets so much easier. It just gets so much easier. And you position yourself for more long-term, like just life, you know, just sustainability that way. Yeah. That's something that just hit me kind of recently too. And when it did, I was like, sick to my stomach almost. I was like, it was hard to sleep that night. I just remember walking down the street and being like, God, I'm such an asshole. You know, I just wasted so much time and I was so knuckleheaded. And one of the things that's constantly iterated in the martial arts, which is another reason why I think you should do jujitsu. There's so many parallels to what you've said today and like honest, sincere martial arts. It's not about what you get at the end. So you were talking about envisioning, you know, what you want to be, not just thinking like, oh, hey, I want to make this much money or I want to have this notoriety. Sure. Like you need that you need that like thing you're going after, but it's about the process. It's about who you become along the way. And it's not so much always about what you get, but what you have to let go of. And that was the big one for me, like just pulling the layers of those onions off. It's like, oh, why do I do that? Do I need that? No, get rid of it. What about, don't need that. That's just like totally a disservice, you know? So then you strip yourself down. And like these days, it's, if you want to live, you got to be lean. You got to be able to, you know, it's like really
like spiritually lean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just like
physically too. It's not bad. You know, stop buying dumb shit, especially if you're, you know, if your finances have adjusted a little bit. And that's, you know, I mean, I learned the hard way hustling gigs. Like, you know, if you had to make that money last because you didn't know necessarily when the next one was going to come. So it was like, okay, you know, get skinny, tighten that belt, you know, it's the skinniest days of my life.
Yeah, I bet. I can imagine. Oh my gosh, I could go on for this. I'm so sad that we only have.
Yeah, no, we'll do it again though. This is just the sprinkle. We're just getting everybody excited. So before we go, where can people find out information about your coaching, about your music?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give them the lowdown.
you can find me on all the sites, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Look up Kaylee Drain. On Instagram, I'm Kaylee Cello. Caleigh, just make sure you spell it right. And my website, KayleeDrain.com. I'm going to be flooding everything today, actually, with a announcement for a masterclass I'm holding tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on unleashing your creativity. So really starting to get in touch with those blocks that are getting in your way from having access to your creative streak, whether you're an artist or you're an entrepreneur, you're a creative person in general. It's an important vein of yourself to have access to. So that's happening tomorrow, and I'll have information up on all the sites.
You're going to post information on that on like your Facebook and Instagram and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Any parting words you want to leave people with so they can fly away and make and do?
Yes.
Go.
My words of wisdom: responsibility is the most empowering thing you can give yourself. When you are the creator of your own world is when you actually remember that you have access to anything you want.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. We will definitely do this again. I'll give you a proper hour next time.
Yes. Okay, good.
This is just the warm up. And we'll see if Mario can help us out with the audio next time, so we get that extra minute that we lost at the beginning.
That'd be helpful, yeah. Thanks for having me, Maya.
Thank you so much. Take care. We'll be in touch. All right, everybody, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with Mario Quintero. We'll be back in a few. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network at www.talkingalternative.com. Now, broadcasting 24 hours a day. Talking Alternative.
Do you run or are ready to open your own business? Hi, I'm Jeremiah Fox. I've been operating and opening small business for the last 25 years, and I'm the host of the new show, The Entrepreneurial Web. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time for insights and stories on the nuances of running small business right here on Fridays at noon, talkradio.nyc.
Do you love or are you intrigued about New York City and its neighborhoods? I'm Jeff Goodman, host of Rediscovering New York, a weekly show that showcases New York's history and its extraordinary neighborhoods. Every Tuesday live at 7 p.m., we focus on a particular neighborhood and explore its history, its vibe, its feel, and its energy. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
I'm the aptly named host of Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. Big nonprofit ideas for the other 95%. Fundraising, board relations, social media. My guests and I cover everything that small and mid-sized shops struggle with. If you have big dreams and a small budget, you have a home at Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. Fridays 1 to 2 Eastern at talkingalternative.com.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
All right, everybody, welcome back. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. Last portion of the show, we shot out to LA to talk to Kaylee Drain. Now we bring it back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to be joined by my friend, my old neighbor, my old jiu-jitsu training partner, Mario Quintero. He is the guitarist and lead singer for Spotlight's super awesome, hard, heavy band. Based in Pittsburgh now. Mario, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you? So good to see you.
You got that good audio. Damn.
Hey, man, I had to step it up for you, you know?
I don't know if you were listening at the beginning, but I got a loud mic and everything.
I heard you mention
that
there at the end.
I was like,
sometimes sometimes it's better to keep it simple,
damn, man, you sound like Joe Rogan up in the house. This is awesome.
Hey, man, I told you. It's
You
for
gotta
you.
help me out. Well, I'm on my phone. I'm actually sitting in Della.
You actually
broadcasting
sound
my-
really good, and your video looks wonderful. So,
Well, it's that iPhone 11 Pro Max, baby. That's the good stuff. Good. You think it sounds okay? The audio sounds all right?
Yeah.
Because in the cans, it's a little weird. And I was saying we kicked out like 130 lunches this morning.
Oh, wow.
For like homeless people and hospital workers.
That's so
And
awesome,
the guys are
man.
cleaning up in the back, and you just hear like booms clacking and like trash cans and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know about this, but
It happens, man. It happens.
nice. No,
It's
you
all
sound
good.
crisp and clean. I like. What kind of mic is that? What are you running on?
This is a short SM7.
And are you going into a board?
Not a board. I mean, I have a little a Behringer XR18, which is like a 18 channel interface, and I have the preamp kind of cranked up a little bit. And
But you're not
going
it's
straight
not,
from there to the computer.
Right, but that's not like a USB mic like the podcast.
No.
Mics. You got
it's
the
a real deal.
legit microphone. Expect nothing but the best.
Yeah,
How's
man.
everything going in? I used to go to school with this guy from Pittsburgh, and he used to call it Pittsburgh. Have you heard
Pittsburgh. I think I have
Pittsburgh.
heard that. I
Like
didn't know
old
if that
school.
was like a thing or just like somebody's accent.
No,
You know what I
I mean it's like an accent thing, but he was like, I'm from Pittsburgh. And I'm
from
like,
Pittsburgh.
where's that? He's like, Pittsburgh? Like,
It's the weirdest thing. And when we moved here, I didn't realize how close Pittsburgh is to West Virginia and how much of like a southern accent there that exists here. It's such a weird accent, like of this like Midwestern mashed up with a southern accent. It's kind of amazing.
But
every once in a while I hear it rubbing off.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm familiar with that as well. I used to run like when I was in college.
Yeah.
Touring, but also traveling, like going to see Patty as well, who was in upstate New York. I was like cutting all through Pennsylvania, and I was playing like the college circuit in Virginia. So it was all along 81.
Yep.
So we would like shoot up through West Virginia, and it's
nice.
No offense, some strange parts.
Hey, I've seen some very strange signs in West Virginia, but luckily, like once you get into Pittsburgh, especially where we're at, it's really cool and like good, chill neighborhood, good people.
Yeah. And it was a good move for you. You guys moved what? It's been less than a year, right?
No, actually, it's been like a year and a half now. We moved December 2019, so
really.
Yeah, pretty crazy, huh? It doesn't feel like it, man. It feels like 6 months to me, but yeah.
Yeah, same.
It's flown by.
You were in New York for like 10 years or something like that?
Half that. I was there for about 5, a little over 5.
But you got a great meandering story, like from Miami, went to Berkeley, San Diego, but like other stops along the way.
You nailed it. No, I mean, for me, that was pretty much it. So I grew up in Miami, then I went to school in Boston when I was like 21. Moved there, lived there for about 5 years, then went back to Miami for a short period of time, and then moved to San Diego for 10 years. And then from there to New York. That's where I met Sarah, was in San Diego, and then we moved to New York.
She's from San Diego.
No, she's been more places than I have. She grew up in Chicago and then basically lived all up and down the West Coast from like Portland all the way down to San Diego. And then, and then we met there and moved to New York.
And Sarah is the bass player in Spotlights and like badass. She's like 110 pounds, but plays like 350. You're just like, holy shit, all that sound is coming. I remember the first time, just like so Mari and I used to share a rehearsal space here in Brooklyn. And I remember coming down the steps and hearing this fucking sound and being like, holy shit. And I opened the door and there she is just like banging it out. And I'm like, how is like, all that sound coming out of such a small package? But
I know, man.
Yeah,
that's why I had to marry her, because
I got you, man.
My favorite bass player.
I get it. My wife is pretty loud too. She doesn't play. And so you guys are here in New York and like very active touring. Spotlights is on the road like a solid 3 to 6 months out of the year, right?
Yeah, basically, man. I mean, it's varied throughout the years, but like things happen really fast for us. When we moved to New York, that was 2013. Spotlights was just kind of like an idea, you know what I mean? We had written one song and we always wanted to do more with it, but we were playing in another band at the time. So when we finally moved to New York, and that's kind of why we went there. For me, it was more like an engineering purpose. I really wanted to see if I could expand on that. And San Diego just, for me personally, had kind of like a ceiling where I couldn't go anywhere else. I owned my own studio. I was freelancing. I did everything that I thought I could, and was just kind of not going anywhere. So we figured New York was a good move. And it really was. Like within a year and a half, we had Spotlights up and running, and we're on tour with, maybe 2 years. We were on tour with Deftones for our first U.S. tour with that band.
That's remarkable.
So it was pretty
and you
crazy.
guys just opened up for the reunion of Mr. Bungle.
Yeah.
Here in Brook. Did you guys just opened up in?
It was just a Brooklyn show.
Just a Brooklyn show, not the West Coast shows. And I was at that show at Brooklyn Steel. My ears are still ringing. That was just like,
that was crazy, man. That was so surreal because Mr. Bungle, it just took me back to literally being 15 years old.
Yeah.
16 years old.
With Dave Lombardo and Scotty in too.
And that too on top of it. Incredible.
And those guys just rock. They rock like 20-year-olds still. And
seriously,
they're like
you
pushing
play for
60.
2 hours like that. I fall apart.
Scotty Ian just smiled the whole time. And I was just like, I'm fatigued. How are you not? Yeah, that was fantastic.
I know, man.
And you guys are slated to go on tour with Faith No More later this year. Correct?
Yeah, it was a tour with Korn and Faith No More that we got added to. Another crazy tour that we didn't think we were going to get, and we got. And unfortunately with the virus, I think things might get postponed. It's not 100% sure yet, so I can't confirm that.
Right.
People, I think they're kind of holding out hope that maybe there's something that can happen, but these are like arena shows, so I don't see that happening.
Could be tough. You guys are gonna do like Major League Baseball, and it's just gonna be you. It's like all the music videos from the 1980s. Like they were playing in like empty arenas, and you guys are just broadcasting. Everybody will watch from home. And,
I know. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know. I see it from a year from now. People forget pretty quickly, man. I mean, I hope they don't. Yeah. I really hope we all remember what happened here, and just keep that in mind as we go forward. But I think things will change sooner than we think. I'm kind of a hopeful guy, and I'm an optimist usually at heart, but I just don't see it being as crazy as some people make it out to be. And the music industry's over and this and that, and
right.
Even though we're being hit really hard because we make about 60% of our income from touring. Mm-hmm. Luckily, that 60% is not a lot, and we're able to kind of make that up with our other jobs or doing whatever, me being a recording engineer. But and that's another thing is growing up doing this, we all know how to kind of live tight, right. And we're used to this,
I was just saying that in the last segment. It's just for me being a freelancer for a while and then opening a restaurant, it's I've just been behind the 8 ball the whole time. I've just never
forever.
Yeah, but it's great because if I ever hit my stride, it's going to be amazing because I know how to live off of ramen. I'm just no, it's
exactly.
Okay. We're fine. We're totally.
I think
fine.
it gives you a good perspective on life, man. Success and happiness for me, I think, is different than it is for a lot of people, and for you too, because I feel like we've experienced it at this level of, I'm not going to say we've ever been struggling, because real struggle can be a lot tougher than what we've done, right. But it is hard, you know what I mean? And it's when you're trying to do something you really love and you really care about, and you kind of don't back down from it just because you're broke, or just because you can't pay the bills for a month or whatever. It's you keep trucking along, and
right, and not having that corporate backing where a lot of people, they have there's just this trampoline I can fall on and I'll bounce back up, and we're looking down, it's damn, that's hard ground down there. But you and I know how to break fall.
Exactly. Yeah. I already knew how to break fall before I started training.
Okay. Right. Exactly. So Mari and I did jiu-jitsu together before he moved to Pittsburgh. And one of the main reasons you moved to Pittsburgh was because you guys were on the road so much.
Yep.
One, it was just more central to where you guys were doing a lot of US, but also you guys are in the Balkans, right?
Yeah. This band, so we've only done one European tour, and it was out there, man. I mean, we got all the way to Slovakia and Romania, and played all those countries.
And they loved you guys, right? They seemed so pumped about you guys.
Some of those shows were incredible. Those were some of the best shows. Even like I always tell a story, like my favorite show of that tour was this tiny little town called Chetka in Slovakia. And we show up, tiny little coffee shop, like maybe 50 people can fit in there. And, you know, speakers on sticks, no like real PA or anything. We had to do it all ourselves. So we were like, oh man, this is going to be terrible. And all of a sudden it just filled up because there wasn't a person on the street when we drove up. And out of nowhere, this place gets packed and people were like, you know, not stage diving because there was no stage, but like crowd surfing and like just right up on top of us. And
that's so dope.
Just so much fun, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool stuff.
So you guys moved, you became more central, but also bills became a little less because we all know New York is expensive as fuck.
Yeah, man, it was just killing us. You know, like especially like jiu-jitsu was one of the hardest things I had to let go just because when we came back from that tour, that as good as that tour was, we didn't make any money. We ended up kind of losing money. Mm-hmm. And just because mistakes were made by different parties that just didn't make sense and whatever. So anyways, I came back and there was no way, like there was no credit card that was going to take those $200 whatever dollars
cover
a month.
Jiu-jitsu, right?
So I had to prioritize and, you know, that sucked. And then everything just kind of was coming down at that point. We really had we kind of looked around and there was really no reason to have to be in New York anymore.
Right.
Like when we first moved there, it was incredible because we met all these new friends. We we started playing all these good shows and things just kind of like blossomed as soon as we got there. But it hit a point where it just kind of leveled out. And so any tough times were just knocking us down. And,
right. There's a point of diminishing return with all that, right?
Living in Flatbush in that fourth floor walk up was just every day I'd get home and look at those stairs and be like, God damn it, man. I'm just, you know,
do I have to do this again? And you go back to the dojo and do more class.
Yeah, exactly.
Go train more. Have you trained at all since you moved to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so I did. It took me a little bit to kind of get caught up till where I could, but once things leveled out, I started training at this place called Stout. It's a Henzo affiliated gym. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome, man. It's huge. It's crazy especially coming from Sun Dojo, like just New York in general. But
everything's small,
like gigantic, you know.
Yeah.
But really cool guys, great teachers. You know, I've unfortunately kind of like it was in New York. It's been sporadic just because we're always in and out.
Yeah.
And I once again popped another rib and had to take a couple weeks off, and then we went on tour and it was a couple weeks off, and then we came. You know.
I've been there. I know that.
So still a blue belt, which I'm totally fine with. I'd be fine with being a white belt. I don't care, you know.
Right, exactly. Just training. That's the most important part. I don't even care.
It's been good. I've been bummed not to be able to train at all.
Yeah.
Through this whole thing.
Man,
you know.
We got to give. Yeah. I'll save the shout out because we're going to take a little break. If we speak about Mike right now, we'll never take a break.
Right.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about Mario's husband.
Yeah. My husband. 25 years.
Right? Oh my God. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute, everybody. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web.
All right.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
I'm the aptly named host of Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. Big nonprofit ideas for the other 95%. Fundraising, board relations, social media. My guests and I cover everything that small and mid-sized shops struggle with. If you have big dreams and a small budget, you have a home at Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. Fridays 1 to 2 Eastern at talkingalternative.com.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
TalkingAlternative.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Last segment of the show. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox, here with my old buddy, Mario Quintero. We did jiu-jitsu together. We shared a music studio together. He is now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as his hub for his band Spotlights, actively touring prior to the quarantine. And before the break, we mentioned our brother from another mother, Mike P. I hope you're listening.
I know.
Mike P. He's got to be brought up. He's got to be mentioned.
Seriously.
Honorable mention.
Definitely.
One of my main training partners in jiu-jitsu since I started 4+ years ago. Awesome dude. Musician, clothing designer, jewelry maker. He refurbished a cello by himself. Such a freak. Such a freak.
I've learned a lot from that guy over the years, for sure.
Yeah, same here, same. So that's how Mario and I connected. They're like literally like Mario's hetero and married to a lady, but this is Mike is his husband.
Yeah, he's my true husband.
And you guys, he's from Miami also.
We met in Miami. We kind of he's followed me through half this whole moving around the country journey. We moved to Boston to go to Berkeley together. We had been playing in bands in Miami for a while, and then moved there, started a band. The band split up, and he moved back to Miami for like 6 months or a year, and then came out to San Diego as well once I was living out there. And yeah, man, he's an awesome dude. He's just one of those. I can't get rid of him, you know. As much as he drives me crazy, I can't get rid of him.
It's a puppy dog. Is he moving to Pittsburgh?
Each other, though. I can't say because I moved to New York when he was already there too. It's something that just keeps kind of happening, even though we don't really mean it to. It just,
that's hilarious.
We help each other out. So
we realized recently that he actually grew up right around the corner from my grandparents' place. My dad's from Miami also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he lived right in Miami proper as a kid, but I guess around high school they bought a grove, an avocado grove in South Dade, and in Homestead. And literally, like when I would go down there when I was younger, I would run, I would jog around their neighborhood, just those like long blocks, there were hardly any cars. Yeah. And like I totally have just like jogged right in front of Mike's parents' house.
That's crazy, man.
I was like, what? Get the fuck out of here. It's so funny. Okay, enough about Mike. Mike, we love you. I miss you. I can't wait to train with you again.
I know, me too, man.
Back to Mario. It's his show. Get out of here, Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
So, you're a performer, awesome band, awesome guitarist. You've done a bunch of crazy performance things, but you're also an engineer, and that's been a real staple for you throughout the years, especially in terms of like trying to make it gigging. Audio engineers land much longer, more stable jobs, right? It's like, I mean, you're coveted.
It's weird, man. I've always said sometimes there are times that it's almost easier, depending on where you're at as the musician.
Yeah,
sometimes it's even easier to be in a band or be, if you're like I think for me, engineering and Spotlights are both similar. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It just, when it rains, it pours, and then when it doesn't, there's just nothing, man.
But at least, especially currently, you're able to offer some services still. Where like you can't perform.
It's been kind of the saving grace for me right now is just being able to like still work with people. And I had just, it's weird. I've talked to other people that this happened to, where like almost like it was like a premonition that something was going to happen. So everybody was kind of putting things in place to like get ready for this, like updating a website. And I even heard like Kaylee talking about stuff like that too, just before she got off.
Yeah.
But like I had set up a consulting service on my website because I just thought, the way recording goes these days, everybody records themselves. Everybody can have some sort of, small studio in their house that they can like hook up a guitar to, maybe play some drums, whatever. And they try and kind of put that all together themselves, but not everybody knows how to use all this equipment and how to mix the music and make it sound. And I know how frustrating it is when you're trying to get that sound and you can't. So like, instead of like, and people don't have money sometimes to afford like a full mix, or, mixing a full record can be really expensive. So it's basically just like a hand holding tool for people. Like, you pay me hourly pretty much depending on what we're doing. And I'm there for you through text, Zoom. With Zoom, it's been great because I can actually get on the person's computer and like control their computer and like
whatever
EQ a guitar for them and show them what I'm talking about specifically. And it's gone a long way. Like guys that I've started with a few weeks ago have just like really like hit their stride and learning a lot. And it's really cool. It was something that I didn't know would work, and this kind of made it work. And now I think it'll continue working because of this. So
that's fantastic.
That was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like no matter what, like it's been the same for me here at Della, having to change. We were dining room,
Exactly.
Can't do that anymore. Yep. And we didn't do delivery and takeout really. It was not that kind of place,
right.
And like now it's 100%. And I didn't see that coming, and I didn't know what was going to take place, but I had that feeling too, like,
right.
We're on shaky ground just in general. It was just, I know for the music industry and for hospitality, and the same, like,
oh yeah,
lots of restaurants are just going to disappear. It's just like the outlook is grim, but then there's like, I'm like, I'm gonna be fine. This place is gonna be fine, like whatever. Yeah. And I know a number of other people that feel the same way, but especially as a musician, but like no matter what business you go into, you kind of have to be a little diversified, where it's like you might be hot gigging for a while, and that might be great, like really great. And you might be like, man, that's it, I'm good. Like, nope, you're not good. Nope. You always got to have those other little things. What about like album sales? Are you guys still? Are people still buying like merch and stuff for spotlights?
Yeah, I mean, it's been surprising. So we did a little series, and we're still kind of working on it. We put out a few cover songs just on Bandcamp.
I saw that, yeah,
when this whole thing started, and man, it like, it's not insane, it's not crazy, like we can't live off it, but the fact that people are so willing to just like donate and and it's nice to be able to give them something too, like give the fans something to kind of keep people excited and interested. But yeah, it's been pretty good. I mean, record, I don't really know record sales because a lot of most of our records are through the labels. So like, I don't really get to see all those numbers except for like once a year, I think. Right.
Give me like your annual report.
Yeah, exactly. And I usually don't want to see it.
Right.
I'm like, don't worry about it. I don't need to know.
but that is a component, at least as an artist, where it's like you can be making money.
Yep.
Some, and that's like you just said, what you got from like the Bandcamp thing, it's not enough to live off of, but you're staying top of mind, you're engaging with people, and like you're getting some money. I mean,
it helps.
That's like,
it's not nothing. It's been more than a lot more than I expected, put it that way. And
that's so awesome.
And again, I think it's like what you were talking about and what Kaylee was talking about. Like you need to learn to kind of like diversify. I'm in a band and I'm a musician. This is it. Like we tour, we make records. Like, no, what else can you do as a band? Like, can you help people in a way that'll kind of help you out too? Like, or as an engineer too, trying to do things that I've always kind of had to do that, I think, just because I didn't really luck out and start getting big clients, and like, I didn't really follow the path of like an assistant engineer, then go to like head engineer at some giant studio in New York, right? And kind of follow that thing. So I've always just been kind of faking it till I make it in all these different places, and that's what's helping me now, I think.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've moved a lot, and it's always hard when you relocate. Like I did
Right.
the same thing a number of times, especially as a musician trying to get set up in this town, and
Yep.
like, okay, I got to set up in this town, and it's like you feel like you're fucking starting all over again.
Yeah.
But when
But
you
you
hit
learn
it,
a lot.
you're gonna hit it for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. We got 1 minute left. Where can
Oh.
people find out about your services, the band?
So for me personally, the studio stuff is at audiomq.com. That's my website. It's got all the info there and contact. And then for Spotlights, I believe our Facebook is Spotlights Band, and Instagram is Spotlights Music. Any Google.
And what label?
usually
What's the
find
label
it.
you're on?
The label is Ipecac Recordings.
So they can find stuff there, and
Yep,
that's
look
like
it up there. You
Mike
can look at our
Patton and
Bandcamp.
all
Our
those guys.
Bandcamp has all our records on there too, and all our merch and whatnot too. So.
Cool. So Spotlights on Bandcamp, Spotlights Band.
It's
on Bandcamp.
spotlights.bandcamp.com.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dope. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I'm glad.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Glad to hear you're doing good.
Same.
And give my best to Sarah and all your animals. How many animals do you have?
We have 5 cats and 2 little dogs. So
Jesus
that was
Christ.
another reason leaving New York was good.
Yeah. That's
they
amazing.
have more room to roam.
Right.
So
tell me when you
thanks
get
again,
the chickens.
man. Oh yeah, we've thought about it. Trust me.
Awesome. Well, you take care, brother.
You too, man. Say hi to Patty for me.
I will. And all of you listening, you take care. We'll check in with you next week. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Peace out.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Do you run or are ready to open your own business? Hi, I'm Jeremiah Fox. I've been operating and opening small business for the last 25 years, and I'm the host of the new show, The Entrepreneurial Web. Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern Time for insights and stories on the nuances of running small business right here on Fridays at noon, talkradio.nyc.
I'm the aptly named host of Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. Big nonprofit ideas for the other 95%. Fundraising, board relations, social media. My guests and I cover everything that small and mid-sized shops struggle with. If you have big dreams and a small budget, you have a home at Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio. Fridays 1 to 2 Eastern at talkingalternative.com.
Hey, all you crazy listeners. Looking to boost your business? Why not advertise on Talking Alternative with very reasonable rates? Interested? Simply email at info@talkingalternative.com.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network at www.talkingalternative.com. Now, broadcasting 24 hours a day. Talking Alternative.
Do you love or are you intrigued about New York City and its neighborhoods? I'm Jeff Goodman, host of Rediscovering New York, a weekly show that showcases New York's history and its extraordinary neighborhoods. Every Tuesday live at 7 p.m., we focus on a particular neighborhood and explore its history, its vibe, its feel, and its energy. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.